Welcome in, everybody. Happy Monday night here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. Robbie Lastella aboard with you alongside Christian Proscia for another edition of the Lastella Report in FAU camp season. So we're right into the mix of it. Christian's been alongside me every day of a fun start to FAU training camp so far, and Christian was busy on his own right this weekend up I don't know where it was at, but it was somewhere in the 561 with New Era Prep Media Day. So, Christian, what was going on there?
How's it going, Rob? Hope you had a pretty good day after I left you down at camp today. Yeah, we New Era Prep helped sponsor the 561 Showcase Media Day, ran by some of the best people that really care about the well-being of our student athletes. Um, yeah, it was thrown impartially with me, but also mainly the people that deserve the shout outs, Coach Gad Jacobs and Mr. Roshner Serafin. Both of you guys, thank you for everything that you do for our kids, and just help me in the goal of highlighting the kids. But yeah, it was a great event. We hosted it at the Delray Beach Golf Club on Saturday. I was there all day. I was there from 8:15 in the morning to a lovely 4:30 in the afternoon. So calm little 8-hour day for the boy. But yeah, it was a great event. There's 37 teams in Palm Beach County. 35 or 34 of them showed up to media day. So that just speaks to the testament of the coaches, the players, and the community are bought in on everything that we're doing. We we had an interview panel, which is basically what I did the entire day. Photo stations, video stations, other social media type interview areas, less formal, more TikTok-y, more Instagram really. Um, but yeah, no, it was a great event. We personally had five New Era Prep team members out in attendance. So I'm gonna shift away from talking about me because I'm irrelevant in this. I want to give a big shout out to Kiki, Fenton, Ken, and C2 for helping really cover what we did because it was truly an amazing event. Thank you to the great people at the Delray Beach Golf Club for the opportunity to hold the event and being our gracious hosts. And Thank you, parents, administrators, athletes, and coaches for trusting us to tell your guys' stories. We appreciate you, and we do this for you.
So, what would you say was the highlight of the event? Would it be was it the first one?
Yes, this was the first annual 561 Showcase Media Day. For it being the first time, it ran super smoothly. Pretty much, we were maybe off track by about 5 minutes the whole day. Like we were on schedule, which was pretty awesome. It ran super smoothly. The best part about it was just seeing the kids, just being able to see a bunch of teams from across our area fellowship together, kids that grew up together, kids that played Pop Warner ball, maybe they played high school ball together, and the transfer portal reigns supreme. And for whatever reasons, people end up at different schools. But no, it was great to see all the coaches and players and media interacting with each other because I just everywhere I turned there was a smile on people's faces. We were joking, we were laughing, we were having a great time. It was a really good event.
So, who are the top dogs then in the 561 after media day? Who stood out? Who are the five? Who are the dogs?
Y'all are gonna have to find that out on next Wednesday. We have a special surprise coming soon, so I'm gonna do a little bit of foreshadowing to the four viewers that are on right now. And
Sick.
yeah, hey man, we got something cooking for next week. Stay tuned because it's gonna be big. And it involves me, so y'all should really stay tuned because look at this beautiful face.
The top dogs next week revealed. Maybe we're revealing the top dogs. Maybe Christian's gonna say who he doesn't like. I don't know. Find out next week though.
There's a lot more. Everybody knows there's more people that I dislike than I do like. That's just life, though.
561 hate episode of the Lastella
No,
Report next
nope,
week.
nope. Nope, but we can talk about how good my McDonald's tasted today. I haven't eaten anything today, so that McDonald's hit like a bus today. I'm not gonna lie.
There you go. But so
Things
as
in life, Rob.
yeah, the little things. Got to enjoy the McDoubles when you can, man. Got to. But we've been out at FAU training camp. The weather has been holding up for us for the most part, really, over the past couple of days. A little bit of rain on Saturday. Christian was ducking for cover indoors that day, but yeah, I mean it's underway. I mean we're scrimmaging. Full pads go on tomorrow. Is there is I'm trying to it's tough because there really hasn't been too much. I guess five. I was gonna say 5v5. That's basketball. I guess there hasn't been too much 12-on-12 action yet. A little bit of 7-on-7 scrimmaging going on. But today we'll start with our focus talking about the offensive line group, a very depth-filled group for sure. We hear about guys, making impact. Scarly Jean from Kaiser, Daughtry Richardson from Florida State. And just hearing those two names next to each other as both coming in and making impact shows you really the depth of this FAU recruit group. I mean, you've got Scarly Jean, who's a 4-year starter from Kaiser, NAI level. You have Daughtry Richardson, who's a former Miami Central star and then played 2 years at FSU. Didn't really crack the depth chart. Now he's here. Those could potentially be your two starting tackles this season for FAU, both coming from different levels of football, but they both have that tri-counting tag to them. So I really think that, the way FAU approached their recruiting has really turned into a positive benefit. Some people would stay away from the NAIA guy in Scarly Jean, but Owls took a chance on him, and he's really obviously paid dividends getting to crack at the starting job here in the beginning of camp. Christian, any observations of the offensive line today?
I like what I saw from the user from the usual. There we go. Faces. Guys like Federico. I love Federico's play style. Like being able to watch the offensive line today. First off, Coach Ed Warner sang Fed's praises, and rightfully so. Fed is a very talented player. There's a reason he's our highest rated guy on NCAA, but he's a good player. I didn't realize how elite he is as a pull blocker until today because what I saw today was very Jason Kelsey esque of being really mobile for an offensive lineman. Saw a lot of off ball movement, and I thought that was really good to see because he opens up lanes. And something that we're going to talk about a little later is CJ Campbell is a very fast human, and he's able to open up those lanes for CJ or Zoo Mobley or whoever's running the ball. He's able to open that up before they're really getting in the line of scrimmage, which is a lot easier said than done. Because when you're trying to block for dudes at a 4.5 40 speed, just yeah, I think that I was very happy with what I saw from Fed today. Like you said, Daughtry and Scarly both had very good days. I'm very interested to see the development of Keon Rowe over the next however long he's going to be in Paradise. I hope it's the next 4 or 5 years. But I think he every now and again he gets a little taste of the learning curve of being an international player and coming from Germany to the States. So I think that every now and again that catches up for him. But what I've noticed is he doesn't make the same mistake twice. And that's something that Coach Ed also shared. So if he gets beat on a rep for something, he's not going to let it happen again. He's like how we talked about how much Wilkie asks questions. Keon is his on the other side of the ball comparison because Keon does the exact same thing because he's already a step behind guys that have grown up in America playing at the highest levels, the overwhelming majority of them being in South Florida because that's the majority of our offensive line room. So, yeah, I think Keon has the most room to grow, in my opinion. I think he's a naturally raw player, and he's going to blow up.
Yeah, you mentioned a guy like Keon, and there's a really boatload of depth guys like that on this offensive line unit for the Owls. Jordan Church, Okinyo King, um, Alex Akovich, who's a senior. He's not a young guy, but he's another depth piece there in the middle of that offensive line. Another guy who came in this offseason, another tackle piece for the Owls, that's 6'8", Jakavian Nonar. I mean, there's just so many depth pieces on this offensive line. Ovi Dubre, a guy who redshirted last year and now is coming in with a chance to contribute there here in the middle of the offensive line for the Owls, which that's where the positions are really wide open. Fed's holding down the center, but both the guard positions are open, both the tackle positions are open, and there's just I'd probably say there's at least 6 to 8 guys that could fill all of those positions. So it's a good problem to have if you're FAU having too much depth. Now, it's to be seen whether or not that offensive line remains consistent. It's been a ton of it. We hear about a ton of improving so far through camp. Don't want to see that plateau. Want to see that keep going and keep on. This offense is going to kind of keep on evolving. We'll see kind of what trend the offense kind of leans towards. Obviously, Coach Herman wants to be balanced and lead towards that run, but it'll be interesting to see if this becomes a more run dominant offense with CJ, Zoo, Xavier, Jamari, whoever getting totes, or if it's a more pass dominant offense like we saw with LeJonte Wester. And I think that'll kind of help shape the offensive line a little bit, because I'm sure there's guys, that's something we haven't really heard, if there's guys who are better run blockers, better pass blockers, seen it a little bit. I mean, it kind of seems like it's very balanced, but it'll be interesting to see kind of what turn the offense makes to kind of gear this offensive line towards starting.
And that's something that I asked Coach Ed about earlier. Is listen, we got a lefty and we got a righty, and yes, we have a lot of depth at offensive line, but the biggest thing I was concerned about is the versatility of our tackles. Of if we have a dominant tackle, is he able to play both right and left tackle and be able to protect the blind side of whatever quarterback's starting? Because that's a big position of need. I think that's the anchor of this offense. Because I'd like, if I'm a quarterback, I'm trusting the guy who has my blind side with my life. Because end of the day, if I'm just trying to get into my 3-step block and all of a sudden Wilkie Denoud gives me CTE after 2 seconds, I'm gonna be a little ticked. But I'm confident that a guy like Scarley and a guy like Daughtry, Coach Ed named like 5 different offensive linemen. I honestly don't remember. I'm so tired, guys. But the depth of versatility on this offensive line is something that was heavily well regarded. Sorry, my dog is getting into the trash right now. One second.
Uh-oh. But what Christian was saying is true. The versatility of this offensive line is kind of what's going to give it a bit of a step up heading into this season. I mean, last year, a lot of the struggles that the offensive line saw was a bit more because, there was no, besides LeJonte, really, the receivers weren't getting open downfield. Daniel Richardson was a little bit struggling through his reads, and the run game wasn't there at all at times, especially when Larry and Kobe were both dealing with injuries. So to have depth, to have guys who can rotate in between positions, is going to help this unit be really tremendously improved heading into next year. The another unit we focused on really over the past week or so was that DB unit as well. Spoke with Brandon Harris on Saturday. And this unit is very similar to the offensive line in having a lot of depth, being the cornerback unit. DBs kind of get confused in there, and the Owls do rotate players between safety and corner, but for the sake of our preview articles, and we kind of broke it down between cornerbacks and safeties, and looped in the DB term with the CBs, with a couple guys who rotate in between safety and corner. But that unit is experiencing a lot of newcomers and a few returning guys as well. The leader kind of that unit for sure, in terms of seniority right now, probably is Jaden Williams. In his redshirt junior year, he's kind of developed into really a number one corner option for this team on the outside. And he started as a safety, or actually, he was a safety last year, started as a slot corner, moved to safety, now back on the outside as a boundary corner. Man, he's a guy who's really improved his game over the past couple of years. To go and be a guy who starts as a corner and then he's only 5'11", and he's now still on the outside. That size factor never really bothered him. And then opposite him, I mean, Jaden's at 5'11". Opposite him on the other side is Bugs Brown, who's 6'3". So, at
Dang.
least in the early part of camp, it's kind of seemed like those two guys have kind of dominated the cornerback position for the Owls. Bugs being the transfer piece and Jaden being the returning piece. And there's still, it's not to say that Bugs has won that starting corner job, but he's definitely a contender. Logic Hudgens coming in is a contender. Cam Goggins he comes from the Georgia Military College. He's got that military background to him. He's another guy that's really slept on. He's 6'2" on the outside. He did 2 years at prep school and then went to Georgia College, the military college. So he's a younger. He's technically only a freshman, but he's a seasoned DB. He's played a lot of football over the past 3 years, and so that's a guy who can come in and contribute right away immediately as well. And so the DB unit just has a lot of options. Christian, anyone, you weren't there on Saturday with us, but you've been around the DBs a little bit. Is there anyone that, that you're looking at this season as a potential option?
I think business as usual for a guy like Day Hill is going to be huge for us. I'm really excited to see him and Bugs Brown on probably the outside. That's kind of where they're projected. I think Bugs is a more physical DB. Day is naturally faster. So I wouldn't be surprised if we could see some cool stuff out of that regarding matchups. I'm really excited to watch Day. A guy like Fabian Scott, I've been interested to see how he's been progressing. He's been kind of a Swiss Army knife on this defense. He's played a little bit of just straight outside corner. He played a little nickel, and he's played safety at so far during camp. But what I'm hearing is he's probably going to be a safety, is what sources are telling me. But I think Fabo is going to have a really nice sophomore year. I'm excited to see what he does. And then who else? Phil Dunham not Phil Dunham. I am excited to watch Phil Dunham, but I mean Wendell Philord out of the nickel, I think is going to be huge for us. Yes, he's a little undersized, but being able to have a fast and physical corner guarding slot is huge, especially in the modern style of college football and the modern style of football. I talk about it all the time. Is football is evolving. It's not you don't have a pocket passer quarterback anymore. That form of quarterback is old, gone, and retired with Tom Brady. Even Aaron Rodgers is decently mobile. I'm not gonna lie, Aaron Rodgers is decently mobile. So being able to have a little bit of athleticism and not having your heels glued to the pocket is something that sets apart modern football, but then also the options and the motions and the RPOs. So I think having a solid nickel corner is going to be huge on being able to kind of neutralize being picked apart by a guy underneath in the slot.
Yeah, Phil, he's a guy who he comes in with experience as well. He started 4 years at Kaiser in the slot there. So he is a huge addition to this DB unit. And one guy who, neither of us mentioned is Chris Tooley, who hasn't really been getting too much runs here in the early part of training camp, but that was a guy who, Jerron Morris said last year, it was a guy that all the DBs thought was a potential riser in this unit heading into this season. Worked hard last year, caught the eyes of the veteran players on the squad. Ton of talent now coming in this offseason. So there was never a guarantee that he was going to be given a starting job or anything. But I'm interested to see as training camp progresses, as the season goes on, is Chris Tooley going to win a job? Is he on the sidelines? Where is his position here in this defensive back unit? Because you it's interesting to hear from last year's group of DBs about kind of who they want to fill their shoes. And Tooley was a guy that JMO, when he came on our show, specifically mentioned as a fast riser. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how he shakes a spot out, and how really this whole DB room shakes out as a whole, for the Owls. With an increased pass rush now, I think that'll kind of help the DBs out. In terms of they're not going to have to just sit back there in coverage. I mean, they're going to actually be able to do it's play their assigned coverage and not have to worry, okay, is the quarterback going to be at receive any pressure? Because Wilkie Denard coming off the edge, August Salvati, Chisholm, Ifeanyi, like all these guys are at least going to be able to put pressure on the quarterback. I don't it's never a guarantee that they translate into sacks, but just anything that'll kind of pressure the quarterback will kind of help the DBs out as well. So I think
I
this defense is going to be much improved. What are you going to say, Christian?
I completely agree. Being able to have a revamped pass rush, obviously losing guys like Evan Anderson and Latrell Jean over the offseason, that blows. But we rebuilt, and those two guys were nose tackles. And they were the ones that were primarily getting a lot of the pressures because, unfortunately, we did have a lot of injuries to starting front seven. But with what we have now, being able to get guys healthy again, and then dabbling in the portal and getting better in the portal, especially on the front seven, is going to be huge. While still having guys like Eddie, Dez, Ambush, and then having over the middle, and then having the guys in the secondary who pretty much it's just don't give them anything, because a quarterback that has to throw on the run damn near every play is not a good quarterback, and that's a fact. If you're more worried about trying not to get killed as opposed to and making a play out of nothing as opposed to having a clean pocket, guess what? There's never such a thing called a clean pocket, um but when your first thought is I'm about to get put on my ass, you're not going to make the proper reads, and I think that our very smart defensive back core is going to take advantage of that. Another guy that we didn't talk about that we definitely should have is Michael Antoine Jr.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
think that personally is my user DB in NCAA. I'm not gonna lie, I have so many pick sixes with Mike, but I think that he's due for another solid year. There's so many DBs in this room that is deserving of note, and that's something about this whole team is when you look at everything is just depth. Like even special teams, we have depth now. We have three place kickers that could realistically start.
There you go.
Like like we have three kickers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
Like
the depth is everywhere for this Owls team, including quarterback. I want to touch on that. The battle's still between Ty Starks and Cam Fancher. We've seen a little bit of increased reps in those individual drills with Cam kind of having a little bit more time with the ones than Starks is getting. So, it kind of seems like there's a little bit of a shift towards Cam at the moment. Ty's still getting his reps. And the battle is obviously still going on. But it'll be kind of interesting to see, once the scrimmage happens on Saturday, and as time goes on, really to see if there's any kind of more separation between the two. Both working extremely hard here. Noticing leadership, a lot of communication between Ty and the offensive line, Cam and the receivers, and all that stuff, really, and working together to kind of make this offense a whole unit. Both really doing a good job at that. So it'll be interesting to see who wins this job. Still open, but it kind of seems like there's a little bit of an advantage right now for Cam.
yeah, all eyes are on Saturday. Um I dropped everything that I'm doing because I did have a possible prior booking to make sure that I was there at the scrimmage, because that's the first taste of who's QB1. And I think that having that scrimmage is the perfect time and place to set the tone for this offense because as of right now, it's a wild card. I personally thought the Ty Starks had a better spring. However, I'm going to give Cam the benefit of the doubt of he's learning a new system. And he literally was there for what, like 4 weeks, and
Yep.
then he was playing the spring game. So, as opposed to a Ty who's been there for 2 years
Yeah.
now.
This
Okay.
will well, this will be his second year. Last year was his first.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Um, but yeah, having the experience versus spark noting a playbook, you expected what was going to happen. I think that Cam Cam relied a lot on his natural athleticism during the spring game. He rolled out so many times. So I'm interested to see what he's going to do. I'm interested to see what Ty's going to do because I've been saying it since April. Ty has improved tenfold since what we saw last year. I
Mhm.
think he's playing into his athleticism, and I think that we're starting to game plan for his athleticism the same way we're game planning for Cam's athleticism, just maybe different sides of rollout. Because when you're like last year, our game plans were for a 97-year-old quarterback and a quarterback that runs a 6.0 40. Like there's no athleticism there. So being able to have athletes on the field now is going to be huge. So I'm really excited. All eyes are on Saturday, and I'm going to be front row and center. I don't know, Robbie. You might be stuck in a press box. You might be on the field with me. I really hope you're in a press box. But yeah, no, I think that I'm going to have the best view of it. So that's something that I'm really going to be paying attention to.
We shall see. Wrapping it up here about our FAU football segment before we head to break. Just want to give a quick congratulations to Jaquan Burton. He cracked the first official depth chart for the Dolphins as the sixth string wide receiver at the moment. That undrafted free agent grind is a tough one, and Jaquan's making it pay off, cracking that first depth chart. So we'll see how that work keeps going on throughout camp here and heading into the preseason. See if he can win one of those 53-man roster spots. So we shall see. Congratulations to our FAU Pro Owls in the pros. Aziz Al Shahir could be in for a big year with the Texans as well. So just a lot going on with our Pro Owls. And
Wasn't yesterday Aziz's birthday too? I
I
think I saw.
believe so.
Happy birthday, Aziz. We never
I
met.
think. Oh, I saw. The reason I mentioned that is because I saw a Texans account posting about him. So, just some pro owls, man. It's good to see. It's good to hear about. Especially in football, it's great for the program. Keep getting guys. Keep building that kind of brand awareness. So, best of luck to Burt. Best of luck to all the owls that are making an impact in the pros. So we'll take a quick break here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. When we come back, a little FAU basketball news to talk about and some fake Colorado news I saw that I want to address on the air. So we'll take a quick break here, and when we come back, more news for you. Welcome back, everybody. Just after 9:30 here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. We were just talking about Jaquan Burton making an impact for FAU football and with the Dolphins. In terms of the basketball side of things, a little bit of pro action going on over there as well. Both Brian Greenlee and Jalen Gaffney signed with North Macedonian Club, KKTFT. TF in Macedonia, North Macedonia, they go as TFT Skopje. I hope I pronounced that right. They're in the first team Macedonian, first league in Macedonia. They've been around about 6 years, and there, that is where Brian Greenlee and Jalen Gaffney will be playing their pro basketball. They were eliminated in the first round of the 2022 Basketball Champions League. That was their last kind of competition they competed in. I'm just looking a little bit about their team. I don't recognize really any of these other names on this squad at the moment.
Alexander the Great. That's the only Macedonian I know of.
No, I mean, some of these teams, you catch some overseas guys that or some former college guys that go overseas, but not on this team. So it kind of seems like there's really an open path to playing for both Greenlee and Gaffney here in this upcoming season. Both were huge contributors for FAU. We've seen Michael Forrest making contributions to his overseas league team as well. So could be some more pro owls on deck here in the future. Want to see some NBA cracking here, sooner than later. So get the start overseas. Maybe we see Greenlee, Gaffney in the pros either sooner than later. Christian, out of Jalen Gaffney or Brian Greenlee, who do you see really with more pro potential?
Um, you're putting me in a spot.
I know I didn't tell you I'd ask you that question.
Yeah,
So that's a
I'm
tough.
gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to. You're such a chotch, bro. I think Brian Greenlee, because Brian Greenlee is a very good on ball defender. He is a pest. He makes problems for the guy with the ball. That's basically as much analytics as I can go into with basketball. As a defender, he annoys guy with ball. Like I think both of them have big shooting concerns, especially after last year. There's a couple houses built with those bricks, but I'm thinking, I think Greenlee, I think BJ Greenlee will probably have the better pro career. Just because you can't teach defense like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Both of their games they're very European fitting, and it kind of comes from Dusty May's style of offense, and I kind of think that'll help them in the overseas style of basketball and FIBA play. It'll be interesting to see though if they're able to kind of make that transition into United States style of basketball, pick up a potential G League offer, something along those lines. To kind of see if one of them can make some noise in the pros. So we shall see.
I'm being optimistic.
I mean, it's a tough.
Be for real, now, Rob. Be for real, bro.
And you see some crazier names make NBA rosters every now and then, especially the G League.
Yeah, like Thanasis Antetokounmpo and Bronny James.
Yeah, nepotism always steals some
The
spots.
nepotism. I cannot talk. The Nepotism Basketball Association. That's what NBA really stands for. But once again, everybody, if Thanasis Antetokounmpo can get an NBA contract, so can you.
Yeah, you heard it here first. The nepotism always wins. Always wins,
Except
especially
for David Jones. David Jones can't get that contract.
Yeah, didn't work out for him with the Sixers, but it'll be interesting to see if he can kind of muscle out an NBA career as well. Because David Jones was a guy who I thought should have possibly stayed another year in college, but
The smartest thing that happened in this conference was that Yaxel Lindenberg did not declare for the draft. Because if we would have had two serious stars like a David Jones and Yaxel, leave, test NBA waters, and then drown in the NBA waters. That would not be good. I don't think anybody from USF's team last year has pro potential. And I think out of everybody on our team, Vlad is the only one that could have like really made noise because you can't teach somebody to be 7'2".
No, definitely can't teach size. That's why I think UF has a chance to be very dangerous this year in basketball. They have Oliver Ryu, who's I think he's 7'6",
The
7'7",
kid was
something
from
like that.
IMG, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that kid was tall.
All right, so while we're on, it's kind of shifting gears a little bit away from FAU basketball, going over. Saw an article that came out today from Athlon Sports, and the title is "Deion Sanders' Chaotic Culture Turns into Locker Room Violence in Colorado." There's some pretty serious allegations in this article. The author, Steve Corder, we'll get to Steve here in a second, which really is the whole point of me bringing this up. But some of the stuff that was mentioned in here. Here's a quote. So basically, this article they go through and they had quotes from former players. None of which were named. None of these former players wanted to go on the record and say, "Yeah, I say this." They were all from anonymous sources. So here's a quote from one former player. He said, "It's like a real-life Grand Theft Auto video game. There are many distractions with fights, guns, and money floating around. The environment is unlike any I've come from before." That quote in itself, I just don't like the beginning.
The GTA comparison.
It's like a real life Grand Theft Auto video game. That doesn't sound like something somebody would say. I'm sorry, it doesn't. Like that just does not sound like something a real human would. You say in when talking about GTA, Christian, would you say the Grand Theft Auto video game?
Yeah, that's got to be AI generated, or the writer had to break it up because he's got to remember that old people don't know video games. So
Fair.
that could be a reason. But I'm interested to see like what the GTA comparison is, whether it's the carjackings, the shootings, or the hookers. Like what makes this Colorado squad like Trevor from GTA?
Well, apparently, let's see here. Let's keep on going with this article. Here's something from a former player about Cormani McLean. Cormani was taking a lot of heat from everyone. At the same time, Coach Prime was saying he was in the doghouse and needed to improve. Cormani was being bullied by Shiloh Sanders. After the Oregon State game, Shiloh slapped him several times, which left Cormani screaming, "I'm going to kill you," repeatedly. After that, you could tell he wasn't mentally there. It's hard when the coaches you trust are calling you derogatory names on the practice field. Again, I just doesn't sound real to me. Like
So did Shiloh Sanders give Cormani McLean CTE?
it sounded like he gave him PTSD, like
Although,
post traumatic stress disorder. I mean,
listen, I would have PTSD too if I had to listen to Shador Sanders' music.
just reached 500,000 views on Apple Music, by the
What
way.
have we done, everybody? Why? How does that song have more than 5 listens? It's got to be Shador just listening to it over and over again.
So I'm keeping going with this story. I mean, it just doesn't stop.
There's more?
The violence often seemed to come from personal vendettas, but not always. Jordan Seaton, another 5-star recruit, was allegedly bullied into proving his manhood and picked to fight former CU lineman Savion Washington. In April, the two were said to have exchanged blows, leaving both bloody. Witnesses described it as two bears scrapping for food. No.
This got to be fake.
That's where I draw the line. That's
got to be fake.
that's
bro.
where I draw the line. I mean,
Why was none of this on the Coach Prime show? I wanted to see that. I don't care about Shador Sanders' music. I don't care that like he made people show up to the concert. Like, no, I want to see bloody bears fighting. Like
like
over a
that,
salmon.
that's a little questionable to me. But we're not done. We are not finished, Christian. It keeps on going.
Still more?
Oh, and it gets worse. So While bullying was also a common theme, there was another alleged incident involving a gambling debt between backup quarterback Colton Allen and wide receiver Caleb Mathis. Days after the Seton, Washington melee, the son of Kevin Mathis, who CU's defensive back coach, was asked to pay Allen over a gambling debt in excess of $10,000. So Caleb Mathis owed Colton $10,000, and his father stepped in. And when Mathis refused to pay, he allegedly proceeded to punch Colton Allen in the locker room, with players and coaches witnessing the assault. Allen allegedly refused to discuss the matter due to Mathis's connection to Prime's coaching staff.
So, did the coach beat the kid up?
See, that's what I'm not clear. Like, this is just poor journalism. Like,
Yeah, I think the entire article is poor journalism.
The son of Kevin Mathis, who's CU's defensive back, okay, they're trying to say who is. So he was CU's defensive back coach. He was asked to pay Allen over, I guess the coach, I guess it's the coach. I can't. I guess, but I would take everything I'm reading from this article with a grain of salt. Outside of the fights, which now appear to be spilling over to the field during practice, with Coach Prime encouraging teammates to square off against each other, the gun culture is troublesome. According to a report. See, that is crazy to me. That is a crazy sentence. He goes,
the gun culture?
No. He goes, so this is all one sentence. Outside of the fights, which now appear to be spilling over to the field during practice, with Coach Prime even encouraging teammates to square off against each other, the gun culture is troublesome. They just slipped that in there at the end of that sentence. The gun culture. This is a college football. What are we talking about? Gun culture.
Listen. I could possibly see this is true for one reason and one reason only.
What is that?
The 2008 Florida Gators did all of the same crap with the Pouncey twins, and they had the second coming of Christ as their quarterback. Like, the closest thing to God in 2,000 years was the head of that franchise. And then Aaron Hernandez and the Pouncey twins and Urban Meyer were also in that locker room. So,
okay, so it goes
stranger
on.
things have happened.
It goes on. So after it says the gun culture was troublesome, they then go on to mention a report from July 6th of last year. Oh, it took me to. I don't know. Oh, we lost it. It took me to an article from last year in which Colorado commit Ebenezer Bouzet was arrested for allegedly threatening a girl with a gun 6 months before he was charged with misdemeanor battery stemming from an incident last year. So this was something we knew. I don't know how Coach Prime is doing that. That was a recruit, and it happened a year ago. And they go on to describe a horrible, horrible case, if that's true. But that had nothing to do. This was when this kid still lived in Florida.
Oh, yay. Florida man.
So another Colorado player showed off his handgun while announcing his commitment. Chidozie Nwanko had what appeared to be a Glock 40 on his table as he celebrated with Prime on a live stream. For the most part,
tell me there's a picture of this. Happy National Signing Day, everybody.
There is.
What are we, John Morant's car?
There is a picture of it.
Please text that to me on the side.
You can kind of see it. You can kind of see a little bit of a. I mean, I'm not going to hold my phone up to the screen. That's kind of ghetto, but
I know. I'm waiting for you to text it to me.
I'll have to send it over. But this article just keeps going on and on and on.
Oh, gift that keeps on giving, baby.
I mean, this is just. And so, really, so now that I've read you the entire story, let's go back to the author, Steve Corder, who has no social media presence. The guy does not exist. They say he does, and his supposed Twitter at leads to Stephanie Corder, and he doesn't exist. He is not a real person.
I feel like I just keep making references to former sports like headlines, but so Steve Corder is Manti Te'o's girlfriend.
Essentially, this guy does not exist anywhere. So this takes me now to Athlon Sports. What is Athlon Sports? So let's Google that. We're doing journalism live on the air here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. I don't know. Apparently it's some kind of they had a I don't. Apparently they describe themselves as they offer reliable predictions, provide expert analysis, react to breaking news, and help shape the way fans view the game. That's where they got you. They're helping you shape your views. Now that is
Fox
where they get
News.
you. That's how they get you when they're blatantly telling you in their slogan that they help fans shape the way they view the game. Well, I mean,
So now,
I personally think fans should view the game however they want. They don't need me to shape them, but that's just
oh,
me.
please listen to me. Horns down. Should
I
Athlon Sports become an affiliate of the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network?
I guess I'm still trying to figure out like, okay, so they did they merge with Sports Illustrated?
No way.
I think it might be a part of Sports Illustrated, maybe, but I can't really find anything concrete.
Yeah, if they shape the way that fans like watch sports, you got to like keyword how many times they like have Tua hate articles because they might be the reason of why everybody hates Tua.
I don't know, but that whole article is fishy to me. Steve Corder doesn't exist on any social media platforms. He's
Nate
supposedly
Peters.
he's not credentialed at the University of Colorado. So who is this guy? Who are these players that he spoke to, or is it just complete nonsense? Which I think it might be. I think this might be a completely fabricated article with no backing. I think it might be fake.
I agree.
Which isn't good. It's not good. I mean, this has been getting some really decent traction on the internet. So,
I was about to say I kind of read. I think I kind of brought that to your attention because I woke up from a nap and that was like the first thing I saw on Twitter yesterday. And I'm like, I'm still waking up. I'm like, yo, what in the world? And I sent it over. And then like when I woke up, I actually read it. I'm like, yeah, there's no way this is true. Like I couldn't even get past like the first little screenshot because I'm like, there's no way that any of this is true because respectfully, the NCAA would come calling because they've come calling
for a lot less.
for a lot less, which is what we should segue into right now.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that, it's a good time to talk about Michigan. I mean, a boatload of recruiting violations. Probably, I mean, the craziest one to me is the fact that Connor Stallions was actually on the Central Michigan sideline. I mean, that is nuts. They actually put this guy on the sidelines against Michigan State, Michigan's number one rival, and had him there scouting plays. Apparently, Sharon Moore deleted like 43 text messages from Scallions. So what is going on? I mean, what I mean, is Michigan cooked? Is Sharon
Mhm.
Moore done? Like, is Jim Harbaugh going to lose his Chargers job over this? Like, how deep does this go?
Well, here's the thing: Harbaugh will probably never coach college football again, and that may either be with the NCAA ruling or that may just be on his own accord because he hasn't played or he hasn't coached a single snap of NFL football yet. We have no clue what's about to happen with the Chargers. I think the Chargers will be halfway decent. You got a quarterback. Unfortunately, you don't have a surrounding cast around your quarterback because your best option for your quarterback, who's very reliant on good receiver talent to get the ball to, is Quentin Butterfingers Johnston himself and Lad McConkey. So I don't really think that the Chargers are going to be too good. I think they'll be better than last year, but like I don't think they're going to be like Super Bowl contenders or anything. But yeah, so I don't think Harbaugh's just not going to coach college football again, and I think it'll be his choosing. He'll probably win this Chargers job when the well runs up. I think he'll just trickle off into the sunset because at the end of the day, he is probably set for life. Like he was probably set for life financially. He didn't even need to go to the Chargers. And guess what? LOL, three-quarters of your paycheck is getting taken out in state income tax. Liberals. Sorry. Um, but I think Michigan is cooked. They're probably going to receive a nice little suspension. They should at least. Vacating the national championship, I think, is a little crazy because end of the day, you can't take away the natty because they beat everybody. You beat everybody. I don't know how long the sign stealing was going on for, so I can't really tell. But end of the day, why? If you're going to throw it all away, why the one game that you're going to do is it going to be Michigan State? Because guys, like, come on. Like
Yeah.
Ohio State, I understand. Like maybe getting a little edge up on Ohio State or like Washington, like a team that you play in the playoffs or for a team that's actually good. Michigan State last year sucked. Y'all could probably have played Alex Orgy in the second strings and still won. JJ McCarthy probably wouldn't have to let me cook. JJ McCarthy probably wouldn't have to throw a pass during that game, and I don't think he did because he's a handoff merchant. Um, the extent of his passes are here you go, Blake Corum. Here you go, Donovan Edwards. Run. But anyway, like, yeah, I don't think that it was worth throwing everything away for Michigan State. Like, once again, I think Ohio State, I understand. Bama, I understand. Washington, I understand. Michigan State,
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of a waste too. But at the same time, I mean, that's a rivalry game right there. I mean, I'm sure Michigan State's amped up for that, and I'm not advocating for cheating or anything, but like,
yeah, I'm not advocating for
I
cheating.
understand why they did it. I mean, that's a trap game. I'm sure FAU wishes they would have stole signs against
No,
FGCU in
stop,
basketball.
stop. Nope, nope. Don't say that. Don't say that. The NCAA is going to come calling.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
fine. Our
just
whole team's gone now.
yeah, I mean, how do you think FAU beat USF? No, I'm kidding. No.
Total and complete domination from the opening kick. Like,
Exactly. I just watched that back because there's some good soul out there who put the game on YouTube. And then, like, Daniel Richardson marched down the first drive in, like, 6 plays, 76 yards in, like, 2 minutes.
that was a very slow march if it was Daniel Richardson. But yeah, I don't like. Yeah,
It,
that.
do you think it affects Michigan basketball at all?
No.
Or Michigan athletics as a whole? Are
Well,
they going to be concerned?
yes, because football is the highest revenue driving sport in college
Yep.
athletics. We've both been to the big house. We saw how many people can go into those stands. And guess what Michigan people see? How many dollar signs come from every butt that's on a chair. So that's going to be a big financial loss for them if football gets suspended or something like that. Because honestly, I'm hearing 3 year. I'm hearing 3 years. Like
It could be
that.
possible.
That's what almost 40 games.
Hmm.
So give or take about 20 home games plus merch plus vendor sales because nobody's going to go to a football game and not eat and not drink the fun stuff. You gotta, like, all of that revenue, you're making more than just the butts in the chairs. And merchandise. Every little kid wants a Michigan hoodie. I definitely don't have one in my car. Like yeah, like they're cooked. So it now lies on what happens to their guys like a Donovan Edwards or a Will Johnson, who they have very high profiles. They have very high draft profiles. Will Johnson could very easily be the number one pick this year, in my opinion. That's also because I'm a crazy person. But like, what happens to them? Because we play football in 25 days. They got to kind of chop on this investigation because you can't just shut a team down mid-season, and you kind of got 25 days to do it, or else like, and then what happens if I'm Will Johnson? Do I hit the portal? Like, am I going to hit the portal for a possible unknown? Like, no. Like, I'm going to ride it out until the wheels fall off, and guess what? The wheels may fall off and they may not get put back on for a very long time. So I think Michigan's in a little bit of a sticky situation, and the NCAA is in a really sticky situation because they don't know how to go about this. Like, Michigan was the NCAA's golden boy last year. Like, everybody was so ready for Saban to get out of Alabama. They thought that Michigan was going to be the next little dynasty, and cheating Harbaugh over here like had to screw it all up. Guess who the NCAA's new favorite team is? FAU, baby.
Hoot 'em.
Hoot 'em.
Hoot 'em. Maybe we'll
Hoot 'em.
see. Maybe
We
we'll
would
see
never cheat.
the
We would never.
NCAA. Maybe we'll see Charlie Baker at Owls practice later this week. You can catch Christian there. Our guy Toby Schulman taking over for me. I head on vacation to an undisclosed location over the next couple of days.
There you
So
go.
we'll see you guys next week here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. Make sure to stay tuned to FAU Owl's Nest on all social media platforms for your up-to-date FAU training camp coverage. Until next time, I'm Robbie Lastella for Christian Proscia. Thank you for tuning in to the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you next time.